many of the women that I work with is this relationship with themselves and the expectations they put on themselves and the rigidity they have in themselves that then they're projecting on their partner. And whenever we can actually look at that and work on that in ourselves and give ourselves grace and let ourselves show up messy sometimes, and it actually kind of overflows onto our partner. And I think it's sometimes a trait with high achieving, ambitious women too, because in the business, it can be very just let's go, like this is the plan. And then in relationship, it's not as cut and dry.
Welcome to the Marriage and Motherhood podcast. I'm your host, Michelle Perda. As a marriage coach who's married with 3 kids, I know how much parenthood could change a marriage. If flirting, laughing, and having fun together feels like a thing of the past, then I'm here to teach you that marriage doesn't have to feel so hard with your parents, and your marriage can thrive even when you're in the season of raising kids. Whether you're in a good place in your marriage and you just want to continue growing together, or you're wondering if you even like your spouse anymore, this podcast has something for you. Join me here each week as we dive into what it takes to help your marriage grow, and maybe even do a 180. You'll learn ways to handle conflict better, bring that spark back into your relationship, as well as learn how to improve other areas of your life from my lovely guest experts. Are you ready for the next stage of your life and marriage? Let's dive in. Hello. Welcome back to another episode of the Marriage and Motherhood podcast. Today, we're going to be talking about something that you likely are dealing with right now, because I know in today's world, there's a lot more women working. And not only that, there's a lot of ambitious women out there. I know I myself am one, and I'm sure plenty of you listeners are the same, where you're like, I need something else, and I'm going to go get it. And that kind of goes against what we were taught growing up and what we were shown growing up. So I'm so excited to have my guest here today, Melanie Birkey. She is a Christian life coach, and she's going to talk about how to handle that nuanced balance of how do I have a successful marriage and be this ambitious woman when I've never even been shown that that's possible. Because in the past, we all know the man goes to work, is the breadwinner, and the woman stays home and bakes and does all the things with the kids. But what happens when both people are out working, both people are ambitious? Where does that leave the balance of being a present parent and being a present partner? So I'm so excited to have you here, Melanie. Thank you for joining us. Can you please introduce yourself to the listeners? Tell us where you live, how old your kids are, and what led you to do this really meaningful, impactful work?
Yeah, thanks for having me, Michelle. I'm excited. So I am a Christian life coach. I am from northern Indiana, so like 2 hours east of Chicago near the Notre Dame area. And I have twin 3-year-old girls and a 7-year-old son, all adopted internationally from Korea. So that's like a kind of a unique piece about our family. My husband and I used to run really successful martial arts schools together. And basically, I got extreme burnout. We had a staff walkout. Like, I was the CEO of my husband, like all of the things. And through that, I kind of had to do a lot of soul searching and had to undo some conditioning. And that's kind of what led me into the work that I do now, helping driven, ambitious Christian women learn how to honestly give themselves permission to have and not be afraid of having massive levels of success without compromising their internal peace, their relationships, their lifestyle, whatever that looks like uniquely to them and their family.
Yes, I love that. And, with faith-based people, there's a lot of history with how families are quote unquote supposed to be, right?
You have no clue. It's a whole new layer. Yes, it's a whole new layer of listening, and even some like shame stuff in there, right?
Absolutely.
It's all fun and games until religion and God gets involved, and then it just gets extra everything.
Yeah, because it's all up to interpretation from certain people, right? And so I can see how that could be really challenging to grow up and then be like, wait, what I have worked towards doesn't fit what I've been told to do, what I've been told I should do. So let's get into it. What are some common challenges that you notice that high achieving women are facing in their marriage, right? They've got their career And sometimes some husbands have this assumption like, yeah, this is fantastic until we're married and have kids.
Yes, right? Like, luckily, I will say that my husband is very untraditional, or he's open to untraditional. And so it has been like, I'm very blessed in that manner of he's been open-minded to it. And I know that can be like a rubbing point in a lot of marriages. And I think it is just on the woman side of things. I think sometimes, again, giving ourselves permission to be who we were created to be. Like, I can't help it. Like, I've tried to do the stay-at-home mom thing, and honestly, I have a ton of respect for stay-at-home moms. I can't do
Same.
it.
I can't either.
I think it's too hard for me, honestly. Sometimes
Yeah, no,
feels
same.
like, yeah. Sometimes it feels like, okay, am I copping out because I just want to go work? And giving ourselves permission to make that okay, and to just understand that, okay, that's how I'm created. And I think some challenges is, number one, it isn't necessarily common, especially just in like my local community. Like, that's not common. And so oftentimes I can be like, yeah, I'm misunderstood, or they don't get it. And that's okay too. But I just have to remember, like, that doesn't make me wrong. That doesn't make me bad. There are my people, but I got to zoom out because they're a little bit fewer and far between sometimes.
Yeah, no, I mean, it is hard when you are surrounded by a particular expectation, right? It's like, okay, well, all you do this, and now I feel like the black sheep. Does that mean there's something wrong with me? Am I doing this wrong? Like, what's going on? And I love that you realize, like, okay, clearly you're not my people, and I need to go find my people instead of trying to like mold yourself into this person that basically hates herself, right? Like hates her life, doesn't like what she's built, and you're basically living life for someone else's approval. And I think that's so powerful because that is probably the worst way to live, honestly. It's so draining to make decisions based on other people and not for yourself, because at the end of the day, you're the one that has to live with your choices.
Right. And I have a program called The Journey to Personal Freedom. And to me, that is such a big piece of personal freedom. Is like freeing ourselves from ourselves, like the expectations that we internalize when we're little, right? We internalize from society, we internalize, and we adopt these things sometimes without even realizing it. And then like actually freeing ourselves from like, oh yeah, like that's not me and I'm okay with it. And living bigger, more authentically as I am.
Yeah. And I always say, if you're going to disappoint someone, disappoint other people. Don't disappoint yourself, because that is the worst feeling.
Oh, yes. Like you said earlier, I mean, I'm the one that has to live this life. Like, if I'm going to be miserable in my own life, in my own skin, like, not worth it. Not worth it at all.
Exactly. Okay, so what are some symptoms for high achieving women who are struggling in their marriage? Because I want those who are in the stage of life right now where they're like, yeah, I feel like I have to choose between my career and motherhood, or my career and my marriage, or maybe my career and the two of those things. What are some things that people experience when they're experiencing that challenge? And what have you done to navigate out of that? Or what have you helped your clients do to find what works for them?
Yeah, I think in marriage, we can only change, we can only control ourselves. And so understanding that work first and doing that work first and taking responsibility for that first, and then kind of coming to your spouse, and then just coming from right? Communicating like, this is me, this is what I want, that kind of thing. I will say the journey for me was honestly giving myself permission, living big into who I am authentically. And honestly, like, I think I had projected a bunch of that on my husband. And he's like, no, I knew that. That's why I married you. Like, this is on you.
Yeah.
That was so freeing for me. But I think a lot of times for me, it was trying to put myself in a box, trying to do all the things, like trying to put my toe in ambition, try to pull that in a little bit, play smaller on that level, while also being the good mom, the good wife, the like
I hate it.
I'm like getting like
I'm so allergic to that.
Yes, I want to like throw up and gag just like talking about it. doing the cooking, doing all the societal expectations. And I will say for me too, I just had a hard time at first. And this was my own kind of journey of understanding my soft side and my hard side, like those hard skills, those go get 'em skills, and also embracing trust, vulnerability with my spouse, like, and understanding I don't have to carry it all. Like, and it gets to be kind of this ebb and flow, this
fluid,
spectrum, right? Of, okay, I am all of this. I am not just ambitious. I'm also sensitive. I am fierce, and I'm a little vulnerable, And so being able to, that really helped when I owned all of me and then allowed my husband in on that. That grace just kind of helped lubricate the marriage and lubricate the process of the whole thing of figuring it out and working together in that way.
Yeah. I mean, I love that you shared that you were projecting a lot onto your husband, because we can do that so much more often than we think. And it's really the limitations that we're placing on ourselves because of our upbringing, because of our community and what they've shown us and what is quote unquote normal in that community. And depending on the different kind of high school that you go to, who's popular is so subjective to the community, right? In my high school, it was like the typical jocks, athletes, right? In my friend's kids' high school, it's like the nerds. I'm like, whoa, that is so different. Okay, that is so cool. But it really matters how we talk about ourselves, how we think of ourselves, and what we set out as our ceiling. Because when we typecast, like, oh, if I'm ambitious, that means I need to be in charge. I need to be type A. I need to be in control. I am running the show here. That could wreak a lot of havoc with that really black and white thinking when it comes to home life. Because then you start treating your spouse like they are under you.
Right.
Right? Because you're still playing the role of, I'm a leader.
And it's so good you said that, playing the role. Because I fell into that trap too. And it was just these masks. It was a protection. It was a coping mechanism for not fully accepting myself, for not, like, that had worked for me, right? Growing up, that was honestly, my mom's really ambitious. And that was kind of the model that I had. And so it was so much of okay, this is the role I'm playing, rather than going all the way to the root, all the way to like the work of who am I at my core authentically. And when I went to that, then it's like, I can absolutely be both. It's both and it's a spectrum. It's all the things. I have some skills and qualities that I've developed well, maybe through coping, maybe natural, maybe both. And also some that I haven't been developing well. And so being able to give myself permission to, I'm both. That is really what opened our marriage up for more authenticity, more just flow too. So let us both do that.
And it sounds like you really brought in a lot of intentionality, right? Because yes, you can be ambitious, but you can also be soft, nurturing, vulnerable, open to intimacy, open to him leading the family, and it could be situational as well. I think if we lock ourselves into this box where like, I am only a badass woman if I am these qualities, then you're going to be stuck in that box that you put yourself in. But if you're like, okay, in these settings, this is how I want to be. But in this setting where it's home, where people get to see a different side of me, this is how I want to be. And I think making that mental decision of who do I want to be for these people, not who am I, period. Right. And I love that you brought up like the world of and. I think a lot of us, it's like, it's either or. I can only be this or I can be that. It's like, what if you could be both? How freeing is that?
Yeah. I have a ampersand tattoo, like of the and sign. And it continues to be so important to me to remember and to be intentional about, because naturally I can fall into all in, all out, go big or nothing. Like, so it's important for me to really, in every moment, like you said, in every situation, not only what is needed, but where am I just putting on a mask? Where am I playing a role versus where am I really I call it my B. One of the like be, do, have is one of these tools that I teach. And it's really like going into, okay, at my core, my essence, and that can change. That can change. And honestly, the beauty of both and is it starts to play in the gray area. Like to me, especially in parenting recently, the last like year with my toddler girls, I mean, just keeping it real, like I have felt the most fierce when I've dug into grounded love for them. That is hard. Like
It
for
is.
me, that is like one of the fiercest things I've done. It's not necessarily like the easier thing for me is to go out and go do all the things or to go lead. It is harder for me to sometimes lean into those soft skills. And that's fierce for me. Like it's both and I see less of a black and white and more of it's both in the same moment.
Absolutely. And I love that. I'm the same way. For me, I don't know how to play with kids. Like if you're older and we got structured things like board games or video games, I'm good. But like pretend play, I'm like, I'm lost. Sorry. I just didn't get that much growing up. And so naturally, I don't really know how to do it. And so it is a struggle to be like, okay, what kind of parent do I want to be? But also, is this more of a struggle than it's worth me putting energy into? Can I shift how I connect with my child?
That is a great point. I consistently, again, have to be intentional about, okay, I'm just going to be honest, my husband's better at this than me. And even though typically a mothering role, he's natural in this category and you go for it. And letting him do it without apology and without like, oh, I wish I was, oh, I should be. Nope, that's just not how our family dynamic is. And it's better for everybody if we don't play pretend in something I'm not authentically good at. But of course, have the functionality of stretching yourself too. It's both.
Well, yeah. I mean, we can definitely grow, but then there's also that little piece of being real with yourself. And I love that you are challenging traditional roles, because that could do a number on a relationship where there's two very ambitious people, because who's going to do the stuff? So how has that worked out in your family? Clearly, you're not a stay-at-home mom. You don't have your role or job as taking care of the home, like being a homemaker. And so with limited time and energy, which I know a lot of the listeners here can relate to, because in this day and age, it's like, how can you be in a home without two income earners, right? Depending on where you live. And so how have you guys navigated who owns what when traditionally it's like, yeah, you're the woman, you should cook, you should clean, I will bring home the money, and I'm just gonna chill when I get home. How did you guys work out that dynamic, and what did you start off with? So like, what were your parents like? What was their dynamic like, and how is yours now?
That's a great question. And I think that my parents growing up, my mom was the ambitious one and my dad is just a natural support. Like he can't not support. Like he's just so gifted as a support role. Not to say that my dad didn't have I remember certain memories where he was definitely leading. So I had that as a model and kind of this back and forth between, okay, I see what society, I see what my friends are doing, and this is what I've grown up with. And then my husband, I mean, his family grew up in a very conservative, like Mennonite style, like family. And so then that brings its own things. And especially as both of us being entrepreneurs, we own our season. We give ourselves permission to say, in this season, whether it's literally a season or whether it's a couple years or a 6-month season, what do you need? What do I need? What are we going to focus on? And how can we support each other and like mix and mingle that? And so I think understanding, okay, this is short term and this is what we're choosing now, it doesn't have to be that way forever. So there's been seasons where my husband was doing a lot more. He was focusing on work goals. And so I picked up a little bit more of those traditional home roles. It was a lot more crock potting and a lot more like Hello Fresh than he would do. But we were okay with that. Like at the end of the day, people got fed. Nobody died. And that worked for us. And right now he's getting ready to retire, actually. And so he's going to be doing a lot more of homeschooling, and he's going to be doing all the cooking. And that's okay. I think going from a fresh start as much as we can, understanding like, okay, if we could create anything, if all options were on the table, what is a win for you? What is a win for me? And what does our family need? And how are these, putting it all on the table and being like, okay, these are the needs. What do you want? What do I want? What am I going to take? What are you going to take? And just allowing it to look that way.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of giving me this like a vision of going to Sweet Factory. I don't even know if they have Sweet Factories anymore, where you grab a bag and you're like, I'll take some of this and I'll take some of this. And it's all messy, but it's all something that works for you. And everyone's bag is going to look different with what candies you're having. And it is so important to set that vision for your family, especially with the dynamic that you guys had where both of you are very ambitious workers. You don't have a reliable or consistent schedule, and you have to just figure out what works and get on the same page. And it sounds like you guys have a beautiful partnership where you were open to figuring out together. And that is so incredible that I'm sure many couples aspire to. And it really does start with, what is that vision? How do you see this working out? What are you working towards? Like, in an ideal world, what does partnership look like to you? And really defining that as a couple so that you can get on the same page. I see a lot of couples get stuck with like, well, you didn't take the trash out when you were supposed to, or you left a sock outside the laundry basket instead of putting it in, or you didn't notice that the toilet needed to be clean. You didn't clean. You just like walked away. Let's get away from the really detailed, like nitty gritty stuff and zoom out and like, okay, something's not working here. Let's have a bigger conversation about the system that's broken.
Yeah. I remember a huge shift for us in our marriage was, and I'll take responsibility, like, because not that he doesn't ever do this, but this is more my tendency, is keeping score. Or we just had to let it go, especially when we got twins. It was like nobody, we can't afford energy wise to nitpick. It's like a diaper needs, you just do the diaper, like whether it's my day or not my day. Like we can talk about the system, but like in this moment, I just got to cover you. You got to cover me. Like it feels messy. And I can just let that go, those expectations, or even if we talked about it, like just swimming in grace at our house, like just a whole lot of it with each other and with ourselves.
Well, yeah. I mean, I always say that it's better to drive your life by looking ahead of you rather than living by the rearview mirror. Like, yes, you can get some context and help you understand why you feel resentful, why you feel frustrated, but then that's it. Like, let that information help you pave a better path. Don't hold on to it. Like you said, keep score, because that is not fair to the other person, because that will have you ignoring the efforts that they are making because you're blind to it. You want to continue making yourself right, whether that's conscious or not, right? And while I say let go, I understand that it can be challenging.
Yeah.
But it is so worth the effort, because if you don't, you know, your husband might just be like, forget it. Why bother? If you're not even going to notice the effort that I'm putting in, that I'm trying.
Yeah. And I don't know about you, but many of the women that I work with, it is this kind of going back to what we talked about, is this relationship with themselves and the expectations they put on themselves and the rigidity they have in themselves that then they're projecting on their partner.
Yep.
And whenever we can actually look at that and work on that in ourselves and give ourselves grace and let ourselves show up messy sometimes, and it actually kind of overflows onto our partner, at least from my personal experience. And a lot of, I think it's sometimes a trait with high achieving, ambitious women too, because, you know, in the business, right, it can be very just let's go, like this is the plan. And then in relationship, it's not as cut and dry.
No, it has its own timeline, because you're dealing with someone who doesn't work for you. You're dealing with someone who has equal say, and you can't control them. And it's hard, right? There are definitely a lot of hard moments in relationships. And I think it's the best way to do that is truly to honor where are we each at, what are we both needing, and being open to hearing them out and not making what they need mean that it's in competition with what you need. Right. I
Mm.
think that's a huge thing.
Mhm.
And I like what you said about like how we really need to, I mean, not in your words, but like master yourself. I mean, that alone, I just recently outlined an episode that I'll be recording soon about how you can work on your marriage without working on your marriage.
Mm.
And it's all about working on yourself, right?
Mhm.
From taking care of your well being, your physical, your mental, your emotional, your spiritual, all of that. Because if you're running on empty, obviously you're going to give the shittiest parts to your partner, to your kids. You're
Mhm.
not going to be that fun, vibrant, loving, nurturing, flirty person. You're going to be that snippy, cranky, serious person who no one wants to be near, even with the 10-foot pole like separating you two. You're just like, no, I'm good. It's, have you seen that that funny meme where it's like that baby is running and then it's like, nope, and it turns the corner? It's like a really popular one. It's like you don't want people to feel like they have to walk on eggshells around you.
Right.
Right. And I think a lot of women fall into that because that is what we've seen. The
Mhm.
angry, burnt out mom who
Yeah.
keeps going and
Yes.
doesn't know their way out. And
Yes.
as ambitious women, this is so easy to
Mhm.
fall into because it's like, well, who else is going to do it? I can't let that drop and I can't let that drop. But what if you can let things drop? What if you can delegate? What if you
Yes.
can redefine what it means to do this or lower your standards,
Oh,
right? Can you be more compassionate to yourself?
yes. And it's so counterintuitive from my perspective, what society kind of shows and upbringing shows, because you're exactly right. And what came up for me as you were talking was this ability to receive. Like sometimes
Mm-hmm.
it can be very vulnerable
Yep.
to receive just the stories that we put to receiving. Like, even recently, like in the last week, my husband has been so generous and just giving me extra, if you will, from the plan. And I had to be intentional about, no, this is actually what I need. I wish I could show up a certain way. And honestly, where I'm at right now is I'm going to receive this. It's vulnerable, but that's relationship. I would absolutely do the
Mm-hmm.
same when he needs it. It's like the Avengers. It's like, I got your back, you got mine. We're like all fighting the same team, but it is
Yeah.
not cut and dry. It does not go according to plan all the time.
No, I mean, it's life, right? Life with kids does not ever go to plan. In fact, I feel like Murphy's Law comes into play way too often when it comes to life with kids. But
Yeah.
I think it's so important to remember that relationships are give and take. And I am just like you, where and maybe all females can relate to this, but we've been taught to give and give and give and to think of other people before ourselves to the point where it's more comfortable for us to be generous than to receive generosity because then it's like, wait a minute, this isn't the role that I'm supposed to play. What's happening here?
Mm.
And I will tell you that the more you practice receiving, the easier it will become. And you can do this in baby steps. And this really clicked for me when I don't even know, like however long ago it was. Like traditionally, when I got sick, I'd be like, well, shit still has to happen.
Yep.
Kids still need to be fed, so I'm just gonna keep going. And like, not all people can have man colds, and just lay up and whatever. And it was like this like sense of pride where it's like, you're so pathetic. Like you just act like you are dying and you just have a cold. And here I am powering through it, still getting shit done.
Mhm.
And recently I was like, wait a minute. If I do that, I am prolonging my sickness. So, what is the whole reason behind this? Like, my goal should be to get better as soon as possible. So, men actually might be onto something in allowing themselves to rest, in allowing themselves to be like, hey, I'm tapping out. I can't do much because I am not feeling my best. So, what if we can use that mentality for when we're burnt out, and not only when we're sick, but even approaching burnout, before burnout? Like, oh, I'm getting to that point where I'm noticing I'm getting annoyed more often. I'm not
Mhm.
snapping at people yet, but I'm a little more sensitive. Maybe it's around your cycle, right? Like
Yeah.
the different times, and just filling your husband in like, hey, just letting you know, I didn't get great sleep, so I'm running a little empty today. So anything extra you can do would be great. I might even make nuggets for dinner for the kids. Like we're going low standard here because
Yes.
I need time to myself. Can you put the kids to bed, or like, something like that? There's nothing weak about you acknowledging that you aren't feeling 100%.
I love it. And I think that is the both and. Like, I think that
Mm-hmm.
is responsible. I think that
Yes.
is
In
right.
partnership.
Right. Absolutely. It's like you don't have to have it all together. We know that, but we don't always act like that.
Mm-mm.
And so I think that that is actually the best, most responsible thing you can do in that moment is to acknowledge where you're at rather than like powering through because you're
And then
exactly
getting mad at people.
right. And then right then you feel bad about getting mad at people and then the shame cycle. And then it's just like, absolutely. While it's counterintuitive, it is actually the way out. Like it
It's
is.
more productive.
Yes. It's the thing that speeds, like you said, speeds it up. And I think a lot of high achieving women love speed, right? I mean, let's do stuff. Let's get back on our
Yes, get stuff done. Yes, 100%. 100%. Okay, so let's talk about some common misconceptions people have about balancing career success and a healthy marriage. What do
Mm.
people in your world say and do? You're like, wait a minute. Hold on, time out.
Yeah, I think one of the things that I just notice the most is the assumptions people put on our
Mm-hmm.
marriage. So we just finished our first year of homeschool, and as
Congratulations.
thank you, and I should say my husband finished our first year of
Yeah, yeah.
homeschool because it was his idea, and I was so like, I'm like, everyone was messaging me about all the ideas, and as if it was my idea, as if I was doing the work. And it was just an interesting notice of like, yes, here's those social norms.
Mm-hmm.
And I unapologetically was able to say, like, no, actually, you are talking to the wrong Berkey. Like, can you send these beautiful resources to my husband? Or like, I remember so many times at church, right? We have these like connect groups where we have a meal and then we have a discussion or whatever. And I was automatically the one put on food duty with like the woman thread. And now I've just came to unapologetically say, oh, you actually have the wrong Berkey. Like, let's switch it out because he's going to be the one bringing the food. And so I think it's just interesting. And that's really just become our norm that most of the things are going to come to me. And I think in a lot of my clients, it can be easy to then make a story, start shitting on themselves, start changing, being a little bit inauthentic, right? Putting
like
on
play into it. Yeah.
Play into it a little bit more, start question it or make a story about themselves. And it's just so freeing when I don't have to make it mean anything about me and just really say, okay, yep, you got the wrong Berkey. I know that's a little untraditional, but he's going to be the one that's bringing the food or he's going to be the one homeschooling. And that's just been really freeing to not apologize for that. And that's just what works for our family.
It is a lot of the stories that we tell ourselves or the stories that other people tell about how life should work and the influence that we allow it to have on our thoughts about our life. When really ultimately all we need is our own permission, our own approval. If we don't have that, nothing else matters. Like, can you let your own approval be louder than others, right? Obviously, it's a lot easier when everyone approves of what you do, right? But like what we said early on, it's like, well, you can either disappoint yourself or you just can disappoint other people. Like, what would you rather do? And I've seen interviews with older people on their deathbed, and they're like, okay, what's one thing that you wish that younger people knew? Don't live a life that you will regret. So how do you do that? By living an authentic life, by choosing and making decisions that support the life that feels the best to you, like living an aligned life.
Yes. Yes.
And you will find your people, because obviously the people who are just like appalled by how you're living life are going to be repelled. And the people who admire or even live similarly are going to be drawn to you. And so I don't worry so much about like, oh my gosh, what are they going to think? Who gives a shit?
Yes. That's on them. Separating
Yes.
out what's
That
not-
says more about them than it does about you. You get to live courageously authentic to yourself. If they want to spend their time judging you, they must have a lot of issues going on that they're not dealing with. And it's easier to judge you than to reflect on what's happening in their own lives.
It's not worth it. It's absolutely not worth it. And the more you practice that and the more you do understanding, what are your values? Like, what do you actually care about? What do you actually want? And allowing yourself to change, right, over time and adjust.
Yes.
What are your values? What are your family's values? And then what does that look like in practicality and living that out? It's just, like doing your own dance and owning that dance.
Yeah. And it all goes back to mastering yourself. Get to know yourself on that level. You know, like the obsessive need to like talk to your kids after school, like, what'd you do? Who'd you talk to? Who'd you play with? Can you do that to yourself?
Oh, I love it.
How do I feel? What do I want? What do I want to do right now? Do I even like this? Do I want to hang out with those people? Or is this just like, I feel like I should go and make an appearance? You know, like give yourself permission to say no, to protect your own peace. And it sounds like you help a lot of women do this, protect their peace, give them more freedom in their life. So can you share with the listeners how people can connect with you if they're like, Melanie is my girl, like she gets me and I could really learn more from her and I want her in my life?
Absolutely. I wasn't going to mention this because it's not quite ready yet, but we've talked too much about it. I have a new lead magnet coming out. It's a 4-video challenge on changing the relationship with yourself. And it's so much of what we talked about, like getting connected with your authentic, getting an alignment. Like I know for me, there was a time in my life where I had got completely disconnected from myself and I had to ask these questions. It was as if I was revisiting a friend that I hadn't seen since high school and having coffee again and just getting to know, what do I even want in life? Like
what's important to me? Yeah.
And that honestly was stemmed into obviously my coaching and it overflowed into my relationship with my husband. And all of this just came out of that root of like, who am I? What do I actually care about? And coming from the inside out rather than the outside in. So I will say, if you want to find me and find that resource, Facebook is my main hub. And I have a Facebook group. It's called Faith, Freedom, and Fulfillment. And that's where I love to just love on people and get to know people and connect with people. So that's the best bet. If you're not on Facebook, you can always go to my website, melaniebirkey.com.
Amazing. So go check out that video series. I will link it when it's ready, and go join her Facebook group. If it feels aligned and you want to continue to be in her space and connect with her and connect with like-minded people, go join that group. And thank you so much for being a part of this show, Melanie. I really enjoyed our conversation. You really got me like going there.
Me too.
All right. If you know someone that could benefit from listening to this episode, please share this with them. I feel like this is like an ode to all women out there who are ready to live a life for themselves. So Christian or not, faith-based or not, like any woman can benefit from listening to this episode. So please share it with your loved ones. And if you love this show, please leave a rating and review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen. And I'll catch you back here on the next episode. Bye.
That's it for this episode. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed making it. If you did, please send me a message over on Instagram at Michelle Perta Coaching to let me know what you loved most about it. Hearing from my listeners is my absolute favorite. And if you've been loving this podcast, please leave a rating and review. This will help people like you find the show and get the help they need. Catch you here on the next episode. Bye.